I was trained as a son-in-law by the Bai family since I was young. I married Bai Ningbing at the age of 20, and Bai Ningbing gave birth to Bai Yue at the age of 24. Bai Yue is very similar to Bai Ningbing, always silent and not very close to me. Every night in the past I would give them a cup of hot milk before going to bed. But this day Bai Ningbing accidentally knocked over the cup, and Bai Yue secretly poured out the milk. I suddenly felt a little tired. The moment I handed the divorce agreement to Bai Ningbing, she frowned and asked me unhappily, "Just because of this?" "Well, just because of this, what about my daughter, Bai Yue? What are you going to do?" Bai Ningbing returned to his previous expressionless face. He asked me in a businesslike manner. I sat opposite him, like a guest at his negotiation table, and spoke calmly. "I will give up his custody rights, and the house in the eastern suburbs will also be transferred to his name, just as compensation for child support. After all, this child's last name is Bai. Compared to following me, he and Bai Ningbing are more like a real family." Bai Ningbing looked down at me. His eyes were very light, as if he didn't understand what I was making a fuss about. "Fang Yuan," he softened his tone, "if it's because of that glass of milk, you can't get over it. I apologize to you. You know, I was drunk last night. I didn't mean to do that to you," he explained patiently, always thinking it was the problem of that glass of milk. Bai Ningbing came back very late from a social event last night. I waited for him for half a night and was awakened by the cold air he brought in when he came in. I got up from the sofa and saw him holding his forehead uncomfortably while taking off his coat. I immediately went to the kitchen to bring him the milk that had been warmed for a long time. Although our relationship as husband and wife was not very good in the past, it was always acceptable in terms of face. But last night I asked one more question. "Who are you meeting?" The smell of men's perfume on you was familiar. Bai Ningbing suddenly let go of the hand that took the milk. I didn't react for a moment, and the glass slipped from my fingertips at my neck. In the lost warm light, the silence on the ground was broken. Bai Ningbing's eyebrows were cold and his aura was irritable. He looked at me coldly and warned me, "Fang Yuan, that you had crossed the line. You don't have to wait for me at night in the future, and you don't have to prepare milk for me." And my daughter Bai Yue, after seeing her mother's behavior, secretly poured out the milk and I found it. He stood at the door and apologized to me without emotion, saying, "I'm sorry that mom and dad don't drink it, and I don't want to drink it either." Probably in the eyes of the mother and daughter, such a trivial matter. I can't and shouldn't make such a big fuss about it. I didn't explain too much, signed the contract, entrusted a good lawyer, and chose to end my marriage with Bai Ningbing. Bai Ningbing said a lot of things lightly. I didn't listen much about the division of property, and I didn't care much. I went back to the room to organize my things. He lowered his eyes and looked at me. "It will take time to handle the procedures. You don't have to be so anxious. I can leave this house to you after moving out." I glanced at this woman who was still calm and indifferent. I calmly replied to him with what he had said before. It's better for him to do things cleanly and neatly, so as not to drag on and leave problems. Bai Ningbing didn't say anything else. I never thought that packing luggage would be a difficult thing to start. The room was full of trivial things, and I had arranged them bit by bit. I glanced around and finally decided to solve it simply. I dragged my suitcase out the door, and Bai Ningbing stopped me. "Where are you going?" "Your parents' house? I'll ask the driver to take you there." I didn't need to refuse. I told him to ask the nanny to clean up my things tomorrow, and I wouldn't deal with them. Anyway, their family doesn't need me to do anything. When I stepped out of the door, I thought about it and turned back. I told Bai Yue, who was standing behind Bai Ningbing and had a blank expression, that I would not pick you up from the kindergarten in the future. But remember not to go with strangers. This is also the last explanation to myself. After saying that, I turned around and left without looking at the child who cried during the weaning period and was held in my arms by my own hands and patiently coaxed all night long. I bought a plane ticket to leave Taipei City and randomly chose a city in the south. Since I was told at the age of 14 that I would marry into the Bai family in the future, my freedom and choice have been restricted. After I married Bai Ningbing, he never offered to take me out for a walk except for some necessary activities. The most common life is that I wait for them to come home every night and give them a cup of warm milk before going to bed. People in the circle say that Bai's mother has trained me very well, and I am completely tailor-made for Bai Ningbing. Her husband is worthy of her status and can take care of her life. The only shortcoming is that he is too perfect. It is so perfect that it is a bit boring and seems a bit rigid. I have heard Bai Ningbing's friends tease her. "Miss Bai is so young, but she has already lived the life of an old couple in advance. What does it feel like? Your husband is too boring. He laughs like a fake person. Do you want me to introduce you to something interesting? A few days ago, Sister Liang met a funny man. He is very funny, just like Su Rui back then. How about it? Are you interested?" Su Rui was Bai Ningbing's first love. Bai's mother didn't agree with them being together, and Bai Ningbing resisted in every way. I don't know what happened later. They broke up and Su Rui went to the United States. When she was 20 years old, Bai Ningbing suddenly accepted the arrangement of the Bai family and took the initiative to approach me. 4 years later she gave birth to Bai Yue and she remembered me. The familiar perfume I smelled that night was the special gardenia scent that Su Rui loved to use before. After finding a place to live for the men, I visited many places. The drizzle in the south of the Yangtze River and the hazy alleys made me enjoy every one of them. Unexpectedly, on the morning of the third day, I suddenly received a call from Bai Ningbing. He seemed to have just got up and asked me in a low and hoarse voice, "Fang Yuan, where are the pair of ruby cufflinks you bought for me at the auction last year?" I paused and asked him what the occasion was in the second drawer of the cloakroom. Bai Ningbing was cutting the ribbon in a shopping mall, and my matching formal suit was the fourth piece in the second row. Bai Ningbing seemed still unconscious. I heard the sound of him rummaging through the phone and faintly heard his complaints. After listening for a while, I asked him if he had found it. The voice on the other side was still, as if he had finally reacted and found it. "Sorry, I didn't mean to bother you." I hummed and said I knew and told him, "Tell him, ask the nanny to I'll tidy up the room for you again. If you can't find anything you can ask them. Don't call me again to bother me." Bai Ningbing was silent for a moment and said okay. After hanging up the phone, I blocked his number and fell asleep again, but I couldn't sleep well. I had many bizarre dreams such as the laughter and playfulness with classmates on campus when I was 14, the sunny day when I first met Bai Ningbing when I was 15, the pain of my dad breaking my leg when I secretly ran out to play racing when I was 16, and there was another shrill ringtone. I woke up from my dream immediately and irritably touched my phone from the bedside. It was an unfamiliar number. I pressed the answer button and a polite voice came from the other end asking, "Hello, are you Bai Yue's father? I am a teacher in Bai Yue's kindergarten. The thing is, the kindergarten held a robot exhibition today, and Bai Yue also participated but he didn't bring his work. He said that it was prepared by his father. If you think it's convenient for you, please give it to the child. Are you on a trip?" The teacher was very enthusiastic towards me. I tightened my fingers holding the phone, closed my eyes and felt indescribable fatigue. Not long ago I was sitting in the living room, looking down at the video drawings, learning stitch by stitch, doing his handicraft homework for Bai Yue. It was just that I walked too fast that day, and the robot was still a semi-finished product. I looked at the bright sun that had already hung high outside the window, and whispered to the teacher, "I'm sorry teacher, the guardianship of Bai Yue is no longer mine, and I won't take care of him anymore." "And is he with you now?" The teacher was quite embarrassed. Yes, little Bai Yue is next to me." I sighed. "Can you please turn on the loudspeaker?" "All right, thank you." There was a shaking noise from the phone across the street, and then there was silence. I think Bai Yue could hear it. I whispered, "The Bai Yue robot is in the toy box in your room. You can call your mother to send it to you, or you can ask anyone else to send it, but I hope you won't give it to me again in the future. Call me, I won't pick you up, nor will I help you with handicrafts. You know, I'm no longer your father." After that, I apologized to the teacher again and raised my hand to hang up the phone. It was really sad to say these words to the child whom I had taken so much trouble to take care of. I couldn't remember since when Bai Yue became more and more like Bai Ningbing. Bai Ningbing and I were arranged to be married very early. When I was 14 years old, my grandfather and father walked out of the study with the elders of Bai Ningbing's family smilingly, and I was trained as a son-in-law by the Bai family. When I was in school, many classmates envied my good family background. I didn't refute, but could only smile bitterly. I had a good life but no freedom. I didn't do well in the high school entrance examination, and when I slept until midnight, my mother became more and more angry, thinking that I had embarrassed her, so she broke into my room, pulled me up and slapped me in the face. When I was in high school, I rebelled and fell in love prematurely, so my father slapped me again and warned me that I didn't want to marry into the family. If I go to the Bai family, I can only marry into the family of other rich women who are almost 20 years older than me. I first met Bai Ningbing when I was 15 years old. Under the arrangement of the two families, Bai Ningbing at that time was different from now. She was a girl who loved to laugh and show her emotions. I didn't have a deep impression of her. I only remember the white shirt under the blue sky and a pair of emotional eyes. Later, I heard that she was in a cold war with her family because of her first love. I admired and envied her. At least she dared to resist and had the right to resist. But not long after, Bai's mother came to my house as a guest. She had a decent and apologetic smile on her face. She took my mother's hand and told her in-laws not to worry. The matter of Bai Ningbing had been resolved. I hid at the door and listened, feeling very lost. Thinking that it was true, my family began to arrange for me to meet Bai Ningbing. He was quite resistant at first and didn't have a good face to me. Later, he slowly accepted it and occasionally said a few words to me. I was the same, watching him go from a the thorny girl gradually became silent and restrained all her expressions, and the special gardenia fragrance on her body also dissipated in the air with time, until I was 20 years old and Bai Ningbing was 24 years old. That year, on the way to a cocktail party in City C, we encountered a landslide and were trapped in the car. Bai Ningbing and I were buried together for a day and a night. When we were rescued, my last memory was that my arm covering his body was smashed, and his car body was pierced bloody. After waking up, he proposed to me and asked me in front of everyone in my family and the Bai family, "Fang Yuan, are you willing to be my husband?" At that time, he looked at my arm wrapped in white bandages and remembered that we were trapped in the car. He nervously called me by my name and said to me, "Fang Yuan, don't sleep. If you fall asleep now, you will really have no freedom." I put my hand on his palm for some reason, ignoring the calmness in his eyes with his eyes downcast. It was like completing a ritual that had to be completed, so we got married. 4 years later, we had a child as everyone wished. Bai Yue was doted on by both families since she was born. Bai's mother thought that she needed the same elite education as Bai Ningbing, so she poured out the glass of milk and said sorry to me with the most innocent face in the same way as her mother, but she did what she took for granted. I don't know what this mother and daughter were thinking, but a week later, I received another call from Bai Ningbing. He used a different number because I blocked him and was dragging his feet. This was not something Bai Ningbing would do. After the call was connected, there was silence on the other end for a few seconds. Just when I was feeling puzzled and was about to hang up, Bai Ningbing's voice came over Fang Yuan. He called my name. Your parents said you didn't go home. Where did you go? Is it difficult? He checked on me. I know he has this ability, but I have unspeakable anger in my heart. In our past in the 9-year marriage, he was indifferent and distant. He and I were like passers-by living under the same roof. Now, in just half a month, the number of times he called me exceeded the number he called in the past year. In the past, I sent WeChat messages to ask him if he would go home for dinner tonight, if he was in a meeting, if his stomach hurt, and whether he wanted me to make some porridge for him. He would at most reply with a The rest was my own piece of green. Now, he acted as if nothing had happened. He asked Fang Yuan in a hoarse voice on the phone. I feel a little uncomfortable in my stomach from drinking at the social gatherings today. Where did you put the medicine at home? Bai Yue caught a cold from a classmate in kindergarten. His fever reached 38 and he kept complaining that he was uncomfortable. What did you do before to make him feel better? I was furious. I suppressed my anger, trying not to seem like a hysterical lunatic. I told him word, Bai Ningbing, we are divorced. I am no longer your wife or your nanny. Whether you have a stomachache or not, whether you can find stomach medicine or not, it is none of my business and there is no shortage of people who can buy medicine for you if you just say hello. The child is sick and it is useless for you to tell me more. I am not a doctor, and I have never seen a mother who would ask the child's father what to do at this time. I don't know what you want to do. Maybe you are unwilling or maybe you are used to my care. But Bai Ningbing, I don't want to say it too harshly. We are over. Don't disturb my life anymore, understand? After saying this, I hung up the phone completely, found the SIM card through the phone, and threw it into the trash can. In today's society, everything is bound to the mobile phone card. I didn't expect that Bai Ningbing and Bai Yue would call me every now and then. Naturally, I wouldn't think that Bai Ningbing still has feelings for me, but I have taken care of them for a long time and it's hard to get used to it. I applied for a new card, withdrew some cash and reported it. I was a member of a scientific expedition team and followed them to the northwest. This is a project I saw on the internet. When I mentioned it, Bai Ningbing said he didn't have time. Friends in the circle laughed and said it was too shabby. It was too embarrassing for Fang Yuan, as a member of the Bai family, to have such a cheap tour group. I smiled and said nothing more. At that time I thought it was just a momentary thought. The Bai family would not allow me to act so recklessly. I didn't expect it to be so easy now. When a shackle is broken, the bound person will start to struggle from the bottom of his heart. On the day I set off with the scientific expedition team, the sky was very light. The journey was by train. The train was shaking all the way. Every time I was deeply trapped in that difficult dream, I would be slowly awakened. The sky suddenly broke, and I was confused. The scientific expedition was carried out in the form of the Qinghai Gansu Grand Loop, starting from Xining to Shaka, Qinghai, passing the Shaka Salt Lake, Jinting, Decaden and Devil City, and the Mogeo Grottos rose from the desert. The Crescent Lake is quiet at night. We traveled to Dunhuang and past Jiaguan, with countless colorful donxia along the way. The people in the scientific expedition team were mainly geologists. They all looked like they were not good at speaking, but they could talk eloquently to a pile of soil, a blade of grass or an unknown wild flower. They were occasionally humorous and witty, making the vast and sparsely populated Northwest full of strong vitality. It is undeniable that my good family background and the training I received from the Bai family over the years have allowed me to see many things that others cannot access. In my previous cognition, I believed that going out for a walk would be more fun only with my family, but now hiking in Yadin, camping in the desert, roasting mutton, and being covered in dust have allowed me to see the brighter stars in the sky. I know that Bai Ningbing will still find out my itinerary, but that is no longer important. Later, after the Northwest Loop was over, I added contact information with this group of new friends, and after a few days of reorganization in the city, I set out on the Sichuan-Tibet line and climbed the Pearl River. At the moment I reached the summit, I felt severe altitude sickness, shortness of breath, and a splitting headache. I almost thought that I was going to die on this highest mountain, but in the distance the sun was shining on the Golden Mountain, and everyone on the top of the mountain was shouting. In this warm and chaotic atmosphere I jumped down and cried. The people in the team were busy giving me oxygen and feeding me drinks with high sugar content. They thought I was in too much pain, so they hurried to coax me, saying, "Oh, don't cry, young man, it's okay, your blood oxygen level has risen, don't be afraid, we are here, you won't die, yes brother, you're so young, you'll be fine, there's still a long way to go, this is just the beginning." I burst into tears and was finally amused by the accent of the big brother from the northeast. With their help, I stood up from the snow, towards the sun shining on the Golden Mountain in the distance towards my new life. No matter how many shackles there were or how difficult the road was, I could reach the summit alone, right? After I came back, I found some of my previous hobbies such as extreme sports, racing, if I raise a puppy I like. Before I got engaged to Bai Ningbing, I was actually a casual and cheerful person, loving everything full of vitality. But later I didn't even have my own freedom, let alone love. I raised a mixed blood Maltese, and I called him An. He had soft caramel-colored fur and innocent big eyes. Every time he ran, his ears flapped like a small gas tank. Puppies are easier to get along with than people, and they understand your needs better than people. Puppies will never ignore you. Puppies know that you love him, and they love you too. Goodbye Bai Ningbing. At the door of my new home, I was about to go out for a walk with Anan, and when I opened the door, I saw Bai Ningbing standing at the elevator entrance, with his hand still on the leash, staring at Anan in my hand nervously. Bai Yue, what are you doing here? I sat opposite Bai Ningbing and asked him coldly. Bai Yue was lying at the end of the sofa, frowning at Anan who was showing off her fandom. Bai Ningbing looked at me silently. Yes, Fang Yuan, you've lost weight. I raised my eyelids. Don't answer the question irrelevantly. It's my daughter who wants to see you. I can't stop Bai Ningbing. I asked him. Do you remember what I said to you last time? We are divorced. Please don't disturb my life again. Don't you understand? Bai Ningbing's thin lips formed a line. Fang Yuanye is still young. She can't live without a father. I smiled and called the community security guard, and asked the mother and son to leave. Bai Yue was unwilling to go out and stood stubbornly at the entrance of my house, looking at me and opening her mouth, as if she wanted to say something. I held Anan without looking at him and closed the door forcefully. I was afraid that if I looked at him again, I would subconsciously soften my heart. He is the child I took care of day and night. I held her, loved her, coaxed her and loved her. The first word she said was, Dad. When Bai Yue was a child, she cried when she saw anyone. Only when she was in my arms she was quiet and cute. But later, Bai's mother said that I didn't educate the child well. Using the so-called elite education brought him up. And the growth of children has always been the indoctrination and embodiment of family education. Whoever says something to him, he will remember and do it. As he grew up, he was unwilling to be close to me anymore, and he began to distance himself from me. Like Bai Ningbing, he treated me politely. He would call me Dad and use my name when speaking. Dad, can you let my mom teach me? Grandma said that your education level is not as high as mom's, and you can't teach me well. Dad, why do you always stay at home? Don't you have any hobbies? My classmates' fathers all have them. Dad, you are too serious, unlike Uncle Rue, who always has all kinds of novel and fun ideas. After I told the guard not to let people in randomly, Bai Ningbing changed his policy. Sometimes he would wait for me alone at the gate of the community in the morning, sitting in the back seat of the Maybach, as if he had not slept all night. When he saw me come out, he would hand me a hot breakfast, dusty and tired. You don't like to eat in the morning, it's not good for your stomach. Eat a little. Sometimes he would bring Bai Yue behind me. They were waiting for me to walk the dog. I passed by them without looking at them, never once. I met them when walking the dog. The neighbors sometimes asked me curiously what the relationship between this bright mother and daughter was and me. I told them truthfully that I had a crush on someone else's ex-husband and liked that man's child more. They were embarrassed for a moment, and then they immediately shared a common hatred for the enemy. Every time I saw them, mother and daughter, they would inform me in advance and ask me not to go out first, out of sight, out of mind. I smiled and told them it was okay. I had long since stopped caring about it. Bai Ningbing has always been very busy, and there are many things waiting for him in the company. He can't keep pestering me here. Many times I saw him sitting in the car tiredly, answering the phone calls with pain after pain. Maybe it was the company or maybe it was the Bai family. After all, he took Bai Yue out for too long. Sometimes Bai Yue would secretly tell the driver to bring him out to find me without telling Bai Ningbing, and then follow behind me in silence, taking small steps and bending with every step that I concentrated on taking Anan for a walk, feeding him water, and coaxing him to eat snacks. Anan would happily wag his tail and bark at me softly. Bai Yue watched beside him without saying a word, her eyes full of anger. Children are not as good as adults and will hide their emotions. Once Anan ran fast and Bai Yue couldn't catch up. He anxiously fell on the stone road and finally couldn't hold back his tears. He said to me with red eyes and wronged, Dad, I love you. After Bai Yue understood the situation, she rarely cried. Maybe she was dissatisfied, uncomfortable and wronged. He lay on the ground and watched me cry until she collapsed. I looked at him quietly, without any movement, until the bodyguards following her rushed over and picked her up from the ground. Bai Yue used to be sick often. Every time she was dying, I would feel uncomfortable and distressed, but now my heart is as calm as water, and I can no longer stir up the slightest ripple. My life now will not be affected by the mother and daughter of the Bai family. I was affected by the appearance of the incident. After returning from a trip some time ago, I signed up for a racing club, hoping to pick up some of my old hobbies. Unexpectedly, I was fortunate enough to be shortlisted for a competition. Although there was a high probability of being eliminated in the first round, I still prepared seriously for a long time. The competition was scheduled for a week later. On the day of departure, I specially bought a ticket for the early morning flight. The intense pre-race preparations were expectant and calm. The wind on the track tore through the scorching sun. Time stood still in the friction between the tires and the ground, and the sweat under the racing suit was urgently pursued and pulled. I took off my helmet and stood on the podium with sweat. Cheers rang out from the audience in waves. The runner-up was a result I had never expected, and I walked out with the crowd. Bai Ningbing was holding Bai Yue's hand and standing in the crowded crowd. Bai Yue held a bouquet of flowers in his arms, as if he was afraid that the flowers would be destroyed. He avoided them vigilantly. Everyone who passed by him saw me. Bai Ningbing nodded to me. A smile spread across his eyes, and he said 2 words. Judging from his lip shape, it was probably congratulations, while Bai Yue's face was flushed. He waved to me excitedly and shouted, Dad, you are so awesome. The people around us were all looking at us with smiles, but I just felt annoyed. I was walking out with my things, and Bai Ningbing came over with Bai Yue. Fang Yuan, so you can do these things? Why haven't I heard you mention them before? Dad, you were so handsome just now. You don't know how nervous I was when you passed the car in front of you. I pretended not to hear anything and kept walking. Bai Ningbing grabbed my hand, lowered his posture and asked me softly, Fang Yuan, let's have dinner together tonight to celebrate. Ye misses you very much. Bai Yue listened and looked at me expectantly, trying to put the bouquet in my hand. I pulled my hand away and said, I'm very busy and don't have time. Eat it by yourselves. Ningbing is sloppy at work. Bai Yue hasn't been home for too long. Bai's mother inevitably came to me. I looked at this woman who once took a fancy to me but now has a gap with me, and I felt an indescribable sadness in my heart. Maybe because we are both parents, maybe because of Bai Yue. Fang Yuan, I chose you at the beginning because you are quiet and introverted, and you are a suitable person to be my son-in-law of the Bai family. But now Bai Ningbing and Bai Yue, one by one, don't go home. Because of you. What's the difference between this and Su Rui back then? Fang Yuan, come back, just give your mother a face, and give Bai Ningbing another chance. Bai's mother has never been the kind of aggressive rich wife. On the contrary, she always speaks gently and politely, just like Bai Ningbing and Bai Yue treated me. I think if it weren't for his daughter and granddaughter, he wouldn't put down his face and sit in my small 2-bedroom and 1 living room house, begging me to give Bai Ningbing a chance. But Auntie, Bai Ningbing doesn't love me. The marriage between the two of us has made me waste 9 years. At the beginning, you chose me because of my family, not me. Now I have become what all of you wished. Our two families cooperate closely and are inseparable. I also gave birth to the child as you wished. Bai Yue is grown up now, and the Bai family will take good care of her without me. Can you give me back my freedom? My father once broke my legs and killed my puppy. I was timid and cowardly and did not dare to resist. Later I married Bai Ningbing and their goal was achieved. We had a blood relationship, the inseparable Bai Yue. I no longer have any role to play. The most important thing is, Auntie, I no longer love Bai Ningbing. The heartbeat of youth began with Fang Yuan. If you sleep with her, you will never be free again. Are you willing to marry me? Maybe I can give you freedom. But later the dragon-slaying girl also became a dragon, forgot herself and agreed casually. Promise. Bai's mother sighed deeply and spoke to the air. Did you hear that? Bai Ningbing's mother tried her best. Next to her handbag the mobile phone screen was on, showing Bai Ningbing's name on it. She was on a call. That night Bai Ningbing appeared at my door. Fang Yuan, I still want to try again. I know I didn't do well before and I neglected you. Can you give me a chance to make up for it and start over? I looked at him quietly, and I thought what I said was clear enough. Bai Ningbing rubbed his messy hair dejectedly. He always paid attention to his image and seldom looked so embarrassed. She was wearing an iron gray suit, but with a pair of blue cuffs. The color contrast was too eye-catching, which was a big mistake. In the past, every outfit of hers was matched by me personally, but now I only think about when she can leave. Bai Ningbing looked at me embarrassedly. I love you, yes, Fang Yuan, it's just that I didn't cherish you before. I have never loved anyone. I don't know how to love, so I made you sad until you left. Then I reacted, I can't live without you at all. It's all my fault. Fang Yuan, can you give me a chance? And Yaya can't live without you either. She cries every day and wants to find her father, and no one can coax her except you. Can you, for the sake of the child, not be so decisive? He said he loves me. He said he has never loved anyone. Came back when he and I were arranged by our family to meet. He said to me, Fang Yuan, I have someone in my heart. At that time he had a very bad relationship with the Bai family because of Su Rui. Then after we got married, I heard that Su Rui had a new girlfriend in the United States. He came home late drunk for the first time. The next day, Bai's mother asked us when we were going to have a child. Bai Ningbing sneered on the spot and asked Bai's mother to replace my perfume and water with specially blended gardenia or yingyer Peishan Ban Fei Yong. The world, I've always loved someone, he said. But I've always loved someone, he said. I've always loved you. I've always loved you, he said. I've always loved you. I've always loved you, he said. I've always loved you. I've always loved you, he said. I've always loved you. 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 It's only been 2 years, but the expectation has become a thorn in my flesh. Bai Ningbing may love me, but compared with his face, dignity and other things, he is just used to my care and omniscience. In our marriage, no matter what the reason, he ignored my cold violence. I took it for granted that I should contribute to the family. These are facts that cannot be changed. No one can't learn to love and no one doesn't understand love. Cherish after losing, but it's just unwillingness and not meeting a better existence. When you are young, it's not wrong to fall in love with anything. When you are mature, it's not wrong to give up anything. Bai Ningbing, please save some dignity for yourself. Bai Ningbing has always been a proud person. He understands what I say, so the last time I saw him was still at my house. A while ago, I went to Xinjiang with a group. It rains a lot in summer and I got caught in the rain a few times. In addition, there are many things to do recently. I inevitably fell ill after I came back. When I woke up from the darkness feeling uncomfortable all over, it was Bai Ningbing who helped me up. Bai Yue lay beside the bed and asked me in a worried voice, Dad, how are you? Are you feeling uncomfortable anywhere? Can my mom and I go to the hospital with you? Bai Ningbing put a pillow behind me and told me, when I saw you coming back at the gate of the community at night, you were staggering, and I felt something was wrong. After following you upstairs, I found that you had fainted at the door with a fever. I asked someone to give you an injection to reduce the fever. How do you feel now? Are you still feeling uncomfortable? He asked me softly and handed me something carefully. There was a milky white liquid in the glass, which was a cup of warm milk. You didn't eat anything at night, so drink a glass of milk to warm your stomach. Fang Yuan called my name in a low voice and began to scold me with an acquaintance's tone. You can't take care of me alone. You're not good for yourself. If my daughter and I hadn't been here today, no one would know that you were sick. Fang Yuan, come home with us. Let me and Yaya take care of you together, okay? I saw her saying this uncomfortably, and there were people beside the bed who kept nodding their heads in agreement. Bai Yue smiled, reached out to take the glass of milk, and the next second she let go of the glass, which slipped from her fingertips and shattered with a bang. The ground was covered with dust, and the white milk flowed on the floor. I pointed at the mottled marks and said slowly, Bai Ningbing, you see, the broken cup cannot be restored, and the spilled milk cannot be recovered either. Moreover, within a few minutes, there was a sudden knock on my door, and there was a sound of many people talking. Bai Yue went to open the door, and a group of people came in noisily. Each of them had big and small bags in their hands, carrying a bunch of things, and completely surrounded my bed. Oh, young man, why did you get sick? I was talking about that day. Don't get wet in the rain, don't get wet in the rain. This group of people insisted on taking you into the rainforest. Brother, are you still feeling uncomfortable? Sister brought you the soft candy you said you liked to eat last time. If the medicine tastes bitter later, eat one and I guarantee you won't feel uncomfortable. Everyone talked a lot and finally found the presence of a big and a small person in the room. They hesitated and asked, are these two me? When they saw Bai Ningbing and Bai Yue, their bodies subconsciously tensed up. So they smiled and introduced them to everyone across the crowd. It doesn't matter, a friend and his daughter. They will never see each other again. They will leave soon, but they are children after all. Bai Yue collapsed in an instant and stood at the door crying loudly, shouting, don't go, I want my dad. She ran to Anan and barked at him a few times. The people of the Bai family immediately came out from their hiding place, took the child away, and helped the staggering woman away. I have also been in the same boat with them, but spilled water cannot be reversed, and rivers and seas cannot rest. Extra Bai Yue. When Bai Yue was 12 years old, he finally plucked up the courage to fight with Bai Ningbing and her daughter. He said he wanted to go find Fang Yuan. He didn't understand why Bai Ningbing would stop him from doing such a simple and easy thing. Bai Yue didn't know that in fact Bai Ningbing had visited Fang Yuan in the past few years, and the reason he didn't let Bai Yue go was because Fang Yuan remarried and had a very cute boy. Bai Ningbing thought that his marriage with Fang Yuan was too failed, and Fang Yuan was delicate and sentimental. It would take a long time to get out of it completely, but Bai Ningbing didn't expect that Fang Yuan was not what he thought. He even became a stranger to Bai Ningbing, laughing heartily and living wantonly, as if that was what he looked like. Bai Ningbing suddenly remembered that when he first met Fang Yuan, the boy was silent and was surrounded by his mother. Bai Ningbing was pulled to sit opposite him. At that time, Bai Ningbing was strictly controlled by Bai's mother. When he heard that he was arranged to marry, he was very angry. Naturally, he couldn't stand this little boy who was 4 years younger than him and looked very dull. In those years, he quarreled with his family, and later even his grandfather intervened. Bai Ningbing had no choice but to reluctantly agree to break up with Su Rui. Su Rui was his college classmate with a generous personality. He agreed to help him without hesitation. Bai Ningbing didn't know that Su Rui liked him at that time, and felt guilty later. After Su Rui came back, he had dinner with him several times and discussed some cooperation projects. Bai Ningbing originally thought that such facts would make Fang Yuan forgive him. At least he didn't really feel sorry for Fang Yuan. He always believed that he was wrong in taking the control of the Bai family over him and resented Fang Yuan, so he was indifferent to him and didn't care about him, which led to Bai Ningbing saw Fang Yuan's married life and realized what he had missed. Fang Yuan married a policeman whom he met when he was involved in an accidental road rescue. The policeman was very busy at work, but he could always find time to accompany Fang Yuan for a walk, to see the mountains, to see the sea, to find the source of all life. The policeman would tell Fang Yuan as soon as possible about any matters and work arrangements. When he passed by after work, he would buy or take pictures of anything interesting and new and send them to Fang Yuan. They shared their lives with each other and loved each other as well. Soon after, they had a son. When the son was just learning to speak, he liked to hold the Maltese puppy and run outside. Later, when the boy grew up a little, he would show his teeth and claws to the little dog every day in kindergarten. Friends boasted, "My dad is amazing. He can do handicrafts and drive racing cars. Do you want to come to my house and play? I'll introduce my dad to you." Bai Ningbing was like a dark mouse, spying on the lives of other people's families. Sometimes he wanted to step out and say hello to Fang Yuan, and asked if Fang Yuan was doing well and how he was eating. But he silently took back his steps, and he never asked about Fang Yuan's news again. During the spring festival of a certain year, Bai Ningbing finished his socializing and returned to his empty home alone. He tugged at his clothes and called Fang Yuan uncomfortably, "I'm a little thirsty." He thought he would be greeted by a warm lamp and a cup of warm milk, but all he got in response was endless darkness and silence. At this moment, the overwhelming memories made Bai Ningbing breathless. His figure gradually slipped from the entrance, and his painful cries came from the darkness. "It's over."